Hey everyone, it's Andy with the Wedding Biz, and I did it. Before I get into today's awesome interview, I want to say that I took my trip to Vegas with my business partner, and we had such a blast. We arrived on a Saturday and checked into the Cosmopolitan. We each had these huge one-bedroom suites with massively long wraparound decks with a crazy view of the Bellagio fountains and the Strip. And that night, we saw U2 at the Sphere. And yes, it's worth it to go to anything at the Sphere. I've never seen or heard anything like it. The sound in this venue of 17,000 feet was crystal clear. I mean, really, you could hear every word. And the visuals, crazy. It was 180 degrees and way up high. I don't know how many stories or feet, but it was massive, massive screen. And the resolution was insane. I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, the next day we rented a Jeep in the early afternoon and spent 5 hours driving through Red Rock Canyon and Fire Valley. It was a great getaway from all the tumult on the Strip. And that night we saw a very funny and raunchy show, Absinthe, and then had an outrageous meal. And then on Monday, we just chilled out, worked during the day. And that night we saw Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns, which features the best musicians and singers in Vegas. They play every Monday night. If you ever go, you got to see that band. And there's always celebrities in the crowd. And I got to meet Danny Seraphine, the original drummer from Chicago, my favorite band when I was growing up. And then the next day, we went back to the Sphere for the documentary Postcards from Earth, which was great. And that night, we saw the Beatles show Love, which was just incredible, and it's closing soon. So if you happen to be going to Vegas, you should see it. And what I'm neglecting to mention is all the food every day. I mean, just incredible meals. And, you know, again, going with my business partner, it was just such a good way to connect and do some business and brainstorm. And it was really wonderful. Anyway, if you missed last week's episode, it was a revisit of my interview of John Emanuel. Based out of Sydney, Australia, John is best known for creating just amazing grand-scale floral installations. And today's guest is Laurie Ritchie, a luxury wedding planner and designer, as well as the founder at Grit and Grace, based in the Washington, D.C. area. She has worked in the industry for 15 years. Grit and Grace has been featured in Martha Stewart Weddings, Inside Weddings, Modern Luxury Weddings, Harper's Bazaar, and Washingtonian Weddings. And I had a real blast interviewing Laura. We really connected. And as you'll soon hear, she is full of just a wonderful energy and has a great range of knowledge about the industry and her position in it. So enjoy this conversation with Laurie Ritchie. So, hey, Laura, it's so good to see you and to actually interview you in person. This is a pleasure. I haven't done that since pre-pandemic.
What a treat.
It is a treat. It's wonderful since we're both located out of Washington, D.C. So, in thinking about you, I was wondering if there is anything back in your childhood. Childhood shapes us so much. Is there anything back then that really grabbed your attention passion-wise that helped to make you like who you are today with your career, your life, but especially your career?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. So I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. My dad was in house building, kitchen building. We would go to a lot of model homes on the weekends. Okay. So I was dragged around. And as a little girl, I was always enamored with the styling of the model homes and how in the little girl's room, the blanket was laid just so. The book was open, and laying on the blanket.
And you caught that.
Yeah. And even in my bedroom, when I would go home, I would kind of style my bedroom as it accidentally was left, So that definitely jump-started a little piece in me of being thoughtful about placement and styling and the interest of how things are and how they're perceived. And then in high school, I really fell in love with fashion marketing. And actually my high school here offered fashion marketing as a course.
Wow. That's crazy.
Loved it and fell in love with it. And behind the scenes for extra credit, you could style models at fashion shows in DC. So I would do that for extra credit at night in big hotels in Washington, D.C. at 17 or whatever, and wearing the headset, literally dressing models living in the hubbub behind the scenes. And that kind of idea of style and design merging with logistics and production jump-started the idea of maybe I want to lean into that role. So through college, I majored in fashion, and there we are. I decided halfway through I wanted to be a wedding planner, which, over 20 years ago was not necessarily as a popular thing as it is now.
Right.
And that's what it all kind of came from.
Did you start your own business right away, or did you work for someone else?
Great question. So graduating with a fashion marketing degree, I thought, maybe I'll go to New York and be the next Anna Wintour. I'm so glad I didn't, because that head chick is still in charge. I love journalism and, again, the description of things for people.
Right.
But I also thought, I really want to be hands-on with stuff. I don't want to be just writing about it. I want to be doing it. So somebody along the way said, well, you should work in hotels. What a great way to get your start and be cradled into this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I worked at the Hyatt on Capitol Hill.
Okay.
Where lots of people we both know in DC worked at that same hotel.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
Then I worked at the Westin in Tyson's Corner. And then I did off-premise catering for 4 years after that. Really trying to understand more than just I like pretty things. There's a lot of logistics, boring, sometimes painstakingly minute stuff that you don't really learn in a book.
But critically important.
Cornerstone important. Yeah. And so there we are. And so when I was doing catering, I would peel off the clients that I was catering their wedding for, say, if you just give me $600, I will put your escort cards out and help you get down the aisle. And luckily, my boss in that catering company was very kind and knew I was doing this and totally said it's fine. But eventually, one took over the other.
Yeah.
And there we go.
But you had to make that leap. I mean, was that a scary thing, or did you have a lot of confidence? Like, how did you make that transition? That's a big, I was in the corporate world.
Yeah.
I sold for IBM. I don't know if many people know this.
Oh, wow.
And then I started the band business during it. I was kind of doing both. But to make that actual leap and go full time, that was big.
It is big. And I always tell people that are interested in becoming whatever, there's never a good day. No one says to you, today's the day you save up 6 months worth of salary and do it. I did have a nice landing pad of easing in. But unfortunately, my mom passed away. I was pregnant with my first child.
No.
And I really had to make a decision, just time management wise. I couldn't do everything.
Right.
Running my own little side hustle, plus catering, plus then managing my mom's estate. And so forcefully enough, I was pushed into making that decision. And I tried to hold on. Who doesn't want to double dip if no one's minding? But I was pushed to make that decision. I'm very grateful that my director of sales at the catering company was like, hi, no more. You got to stop. I'm telling you, you have to quit. You cannot do physically cannot do it all. And so I made that leap, and it was still scary, even though I had a good running up to that point. But it worked out, and I'm so glad it did. But also, I have a lot of family that's entrepreneurs and very hungry. That part of being my own boss and owning a company was not necessarily scary. It was losing the background of having a salary and something to fall back on.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. There's this phrase, cliche, whatever you want to call it, that I feel like I live by, which is jumping off the cliff, leaping off the cliff without a net, but assuming a net will appear.
Yeah.
There's almost that kind of self-faith. And still, obviously, not just jumping with, nothing saved or anything like that, but I believe in that a lot.
Yeah.
You put out the energy, you kind of get it back.
Yeah, agreed. And so there we are. And that's what happened. And then I was just really, really hungry that first year.
Yeah, I remember those years.
Yeah. Going to finagling myself to go to every single networking event.
Right.
Just showing up places. There was an event at Halcyon House I was hugely pregnant, like scary pregnant. I remember Bob from the Fairmont.
Right. I knew him. Sure.
Yes. He was since retired, best man around. He was so concerned. I was at Halcyon House, which is, again, since a deleted amazing venue in Georgetown, these big, huge stairs. He was like, please do not go down those stairs. I don't know who you are or what you're doing. And I was just so determined. I just dedicated a whole year to being annoying and new.
That's great.
And it worked.
Yeah, I should do an episode just on networking alone.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's so
It's an
critical.
art form.
Well, I want to talk about luxury.
Yeah.
There
I
are
hate
different
that word, by the way.
The word luxury?
Yes.
Why?
As we lean into the entire topic of luxury, I think it's been diluted. And I think the word luxury as a planner has given a little bit of a weird taste to some people that they think they're only worthy if they are a luxury planner. I would consider my company a luxury planner. We manage very high end,
Right.
high dollar, very detail oriented, high touch events.
That's what I like is high touch. That's what I
agree.
tell people.
I think luxury equals experience, uniqueness. It's telling a story. It's not necessarily attributed to the budget all the time, but to do all those things, yes, requires money. But for many planners and florists and photographers, I think that word has permeated the wedding industry in such a way.
Everyone's now saying they're luxury planners.
Right.
Everybody.
And I hate it. And I think the people that say that they are luxury, they probably are. But I think there's a lot of people that are like, well, I'm never going to get there, so I'm not worth anything. That's not the case. You could be very successful and extremely happy as a really great planner. You don't need to attach the word luxury. You might be really great at doing weddings that are $100,000 to $150,000 and you live in Maine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's great.
Or just own that niche.
Right. And you love it and you love that clientele and you feel like you can do a lot with it and you're fulfilled creatively or whatever makes you, maybe you love logistics more. That's luxury to me, is that you feel happy and successful, not feeling like you have to raise the bar to this level or you're not it. You're not the cool chick. You're not worth it. I said a couple years ago, and I've said this on a couple different interviews, luxury stole my joy.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah. And it's definitely like a little bit of a mindfuck sentence, excuse my French, but I don't know if that's always the answer, because I do find that some people, not everybody, we're very, very fortunate. I have found some of my greatest friends, and God bless the father of the bride, because I want you to adopt me all day long. I just had the most wonderful experience with a family, and I never want to stop talking to them. I never want it to end. And to me, that is luxury. What is not luxury and what stole my joy in a few instances that made me question this word, it's people that just happen to have a lot of money and then treat people like those people don't matter, and that they're not respectful and they're not kind, and that they expect things that are not normal, but not just not normal in let's be creative way, or I want to be unique. It's that you can't just walk in and negotiate and walk all over a contract that a respected band adheres to, or the fact that you want to break a contract just because you have money and you have a lawyer. Not cool. I just really love that respect level and a genuine relationship level of not just the planner and the client, but the planner and the client and the client and the band and the photographer, everybody is on the same page. We're all trying to make this magic happen. But if everyone's looking behind the back of the client, rolling their eyes and almost hoping it rains just because they've been so rude to them, I don't care how much money you have. It does not do me anything. And maybe I'm a little old for this, but it has occasionally stolen the joy
No, I get
out
that.
of getting there.
I get that. You're making me think of certain clients I've had, and there have been some that are having multi-million-dollar weddings.
Absolutely.
And I tend to find that, at least my experience has been, they're like the nicest.
Yes,
I mean, they're at every
there's
level.
a happy medium.
There is. But in terms of my own experience with what I do in the business, it's when I really can connect with somebody, and I'm going to provide an experience. It's what I do. But if I connect with somebody and they're really treating me with respect, I want to give them so much more. We talk about over delivering. I want to really over deliver.
Couldn't agree more.
And as I get older, Laura, it's interesting we talked before we hit the microphone about how long we've been in the business, and I've been in a super long time. It's those clients where it becomes an experience for me.
Yes. And that's honestly what I selfishly also want. I want to enjoy this with you.
Right.
I want to over deliver.
Right.
I want to eat, sleep, breathe your friends, your family. I memorize everyone's names because I care. That is luxury. And yes, do you have a high dollar, high touch wedding? Wonderful. But the flip side of that is you can't not be kind. Money only goes so far, to make your vendors jump. And I hope we're past that little hump in the industry, but I sometimes I think it's nice to remind people across our entire industry, and you talk to incredible people in our industry that are way above my pay grade too. But that's a smidgen. That's the 1%. I'm maybe in the 5%, but the other 94%.
Yeah.
I do a lot of mentoring with younger, newer planners, photographers, and I want them to know that they can be really wonderful and they can get wonderful clients without feeling like they have to add the L word.
Also, I don't know if the word's existential, but I also feel like we put out this energy into the universe, into our careers, and I believe we start to attract more of those kinds of clients.
Couldn't agree more.
Or we attract at least that side of them, the human side.
Yep.
That's what I'm finding, because I've changed something about the pandemic and some other things that have really helped that. So, yeah.
I completely agree. And it's something we talk about on an intro call with a potential client immediately out the gate. Yes, I'm concerned about your budget. And do you have realistic expectations with how many guests versus your budget versus what you're showing me or telling me you want? And I'm very honest. You don't have the money for this. Or if you lowered your head count by half, maybe we can make that happen. Or, here's what I'm thinking you're going to need.
Right.
Most of our clients fall into the factors of, I know what I want. I don't know what the budget is.
Right.
I want to spend money on things I care about. And let's see where it all falls. And that's great. I think in that sense, that's a great quote unquote luxury client. Mm-hmm. Where I think the problem can lie though is if I'm just worried about creating something and not being honest about my expectations on that call.
Yeah.
I expect respect.
Right.
I expect that I'm the one in charge. We're not hiring frienders.
Right.
Your aunt happens to be a florist. I literally don't care. And setting those expectations, not in a mean way, but in this is how I produce a professionally managed, well-oiled experience from the day that you've hired me to the day that we're completed.
Right.
And I found the more I stand up for myself and, like you said, put it out into the ether, the better experience I'm getting.
So how, in terms of your process with clients so that you can get to that point and connect, do you have a certain way? Are you going to their homes? Are you going out with them to restaurants? Are you setting up situations where you have that environment that makes it easier to connect and have this kind of experience with each other? What is your process like, especially in the beginning?
That's such a good question. I think a long time ago, I would go to their house or meet them somewhere and take my personal time,
right.
Which I'm very protective of now.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I have kids. Dare I have a life outside of work and these gremlins I've created? But normally I'm sussing them out over email first. I'm being very honest. I mean, that first email
But what do you mean by that?
I'm giving numbers in the first email. If this scares you off, have a great day. Not to be mean, but to set expectations. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to, because I could speak to someone for 3 hours on a phone happily. Because I'll just let it get away from me. I can't help it, but I do want to suss them out and not give them false hope that they are going to have a grit and grace wedding when they really have not the budget to make that happen. So, I'm giving them numbers in that first email. If they respond, they'd like to continue talking, we get into a big phone call situation, which is sometimes over a video call or a phone call. And I like whomever is paying for the wedding and the couple to be on the call.
Right. I got you.
There's no secrets. I don't like that, well, don't tell my mom this, or my dad can't find out that. They're going to find out. Someone's paying.
Yeah.
So, and also I like that everyone's involved. I find with luxury weddings, the scary L word, that it's not just one person paying. It's oftentimes a dad and a mom. The daughter's very opinionated and her mom's very involved, or it's a group of, it's the groom's family's paying for all of Friday, the bride's parents paying for all of Saturday, and combined it's $1 million, whatever. I like that everyone's on the same page. I want them to feel secure in the fact that someone can sit at the head of the table and help negotiate between all the factors. I don't really meet with them in person before signing, only because most of our clients do not live nearby.
That makes sense to me too. But again, you've got to be very protective of your time and your energy. And, you want that commitment, before you get there. I want to make sure that you're aware of 2 other shows that are on the Wedding Biz Network. First, The Business of Being Creative, hosted by founder and president of The Business of Being Creative, Sean Lowe. Sean's consulting firm is focused on providing practical advice to those in the business of being creative. Tune in every Tuesday to hear a new episode chock full of topics and advice for creative businesses. Also, check out the 2 seasons of Stop and Smell the Roses, hosted by the one and only lifestyle and event design expert, Preston Bailey. Preston speaks with such an honest voice. I know you're going to thoroughly enjoy hearing him on this unique platform. You can find both shows at theweddingbiznetwork.com or on your cell phone's podcast app for both The Business of Being Creative and Stop and Smell the Roses. What about your creative process? So you've gone through, you've accepted the clients, they've accepted you, and you've had your conversations.
I think that's really important that you said that.
Yeah.
It's a group effort to all accept the contract.
Yeah.
And again, I think for anyone listening to this that is not a quote unquote luxury, it's not just a dollar sign in making a contract. Everyone has to agree. It's okay to get to point C right before signing and go, you know what? I'm not a good fit for you. You don't have to accept the client. And every time I have over my last 15 years, I've regretted it.
Oh, so when you get that funky feeling.
That itch.
And you go ahead and accept it. And then, you have now 12 months, 15 months to live with them.
Right. And I hate to say right away. Sometimes you don't. We like to call them sleeper cells. They were really good for a little bit and they took the mask off.
I've seen that. Mm-hmm.
But it's really important. This job is not normal.
Yeah.
Our Saturdays are Mondays. Our Sundays are Mondays. Our Mondays are Mondays. I am working, and when I have a client, it is all day and night. I am very accessible to them because I only take on a handful of events a year.
How many? Range?
4.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Laura. Okay. Yeah. No wonder. All right.
I'm tired. But when I say 4, I mean 4 that are multi-day.
Yeah. Right. I get it.
Multifaceted. Just the paper alone, literally, I mean, the invitations, the sign, that level of minutia is just...
No, 4 can equal 12. I get it.
It actually probably is 12 when you consider all of the surrounding events, because that's really what people do now. They're doing these, we're having a thing on Thursday, then we're having a rehearsal dinner, then we're having a welcome reception, then we're having an after party for the welcome reception, then we're having the ceremony, then we're having the wedding, then we're having an after party, the next day we're doing a brunch, then a boat ride.
Right.
What?
Yeah, when I do destination weddings, it used to be where we'd have some background entertainment for the rehearsal dinner. Now it's a whole nother band I bring in.
It's basically two weddings.
Yeah. And it turns into dancing. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I mean, my wedding the other weekend, the most fun, both families adore. And I told them that to their faces. You guys are so lucky. Your two families have found each other. It's really rare to find. Everybody's awesome.
Yes, seriously, right.
But they literally had an after party from the welcome reception. And I was like, I'm a little worried. They went to a speakeasy and I'm like, are we okay? The next morning everyone has a good Bloody Mary and some Advil, but it's more than just a wedding.
Yeah.
It's an experience and I love it.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I feel like we've immersed our guest. Again, that to me, that is luxury, but it's more. It's just more is more is more. And
yeah, I hear. No, I'm so glad we went in that direction. But as far as the creative side of it,
yes.
Do you wake up in the middle of the night? Do you sit down with a specific time and work on it with your team? Are you like, how do you get your ideas? Where does that come from?
There's that really great meme right now. It's like, what made you think you could do this? And the person's response says, delusion.
I like that.
It's a little bit of delusion. I think my fashion background always helps me ping back to, I'm really inspired by art. I'm very inspired by buildings. I love shapes and color combinations you've not seen. I want to push the envelope. I do think of things in the middle of the night. I'm actually assisting right now with a bridal shower for a client who I'm also doing her wedding, speaking of doing multiple events. And it's in 2 weeks, but I've had an epiphany about her place cards for the bridal shower for 30 people. And I'm texting her and her mom last night at 9:30 with this crazy idea.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy moly, I love it. I'm like, okay, give me a minute. I got to get back with our graphics person. I need to make a mock-up. I need to test it out. I don't even know if it's possible to pull this off in 2 weeks. So the inspiration usually for us comes from the clients. I really never, ever want to mimic something I've done before.
That's a challenge.
It's hard. And, we get a lot of clients like, I saw this on the internet. I saw your escort card wall.
The Pinterest board.
Pinterest. Yeah. I hate Pinterest. No shade to Pinterest, but it's other people's events. It's great for inspiration. You want to talk to me about a flower, but you don't know the name of it. Great. I'm not going to copy anything I've done before. So to me, how we avoid that is to talk to people and get to know them as people, as a couple, as a family, with their traditions, how their house is decorated, what they wear, how they act, what's special about them, what do they like, what's silly, and build upon that. And that takes time. So we spend a lot of the first half of their planning building the skeleton of what band are we using, what photographer is going to capture the space and your personalities best, what's our catering menu, how are we leaning into that? And we start then getting to know them better. And it's really not till about 6 months before the wedding that we are fully bleeding into the full design scope.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it's really important to not adhere to something so early on. In the DC market, we are so fortunate. We have a bajillion rental companies and linens galore and lots of options. You want a vineyard? Sure, 30 minutes away. You want a Smithsonian? Right down the street. You want a hotel ballroom? No problem. We are a engine here and we're so lucky because when we do destination weddings, sometimes it's just one lighting company.
Right.
Or the closest rental place is 2 hours away. I have it at my fingertips here. I can get you any chair you want.
Yeah.
So with that, we're a little spoiled. But also, I don't want to get something that's quote unquote last year's thing. I want to see what's coming out. I want to dig in. I'm also okay with it feeling like a 2023. I don't mind when people are like, I don't want to look back on my wedding and feel like it was that year. Why not? That's the year you got married. The 80s weddings with the big poofy sleeves and the mini veils, and they're great because that's the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
Why can't we lean into what and who you are right now, but not when you book 15 to 18 months out? I don't want to pick your tables and chairs and come up with this master plan when it could have been even better.
Interesting. Do you have any stories to illustrate this? Like, maybe where a certain story where you got the inspiration, how you then manifested it, just even a little detail.
Yeah. I'm going to selfishly tell you about my birthday.
Okay.
Okay. Because this immediately comes to mind. We're doing this interview from the Conrad, which is an awesome hotel here in DC.
Yes,
And I
thank you, the Conrad.
Thank you. But I had my birthday party here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I turned 40 this year.
Aw.
Enter in the scary noises into this podcast.
No, listen, compared to my age, are you kidding me? You're a child.
Well, I feel old. But I knew I was going to have a big blowout 40th birthday.
Okay.
I always do something great for a milestone birthday.
Yeah.
I did Paris on my 30th. I was going to do something great. And I was really trying to think of, what could I do that's really funky and different and me? And what will no client let me do?
Ooh, that's great.
Because I thought I'll do it.
That's great.
And it's a 40th birthday. So what the hell?
Yeah.
Right? So, I feel like over time we all evolve, and I knew I was going to have that party. My birthday's in April. I definitely had booked everything in the prior year. But over time, I kept seeing pops of neon. And I was like, I'm going to do neon and neutral.
Okay.
And no client's going to let me do that for their wedding.
Yeah. Neon?
Neon
No.
and neon? No. It's maybe for a bar bat mitzvah.
Right, exactly.
Sure. Or a corporate event.
Yeah,
sure.
I was going to say.
But no one's going to let you do this for their wedding. Oh, I did it, baby. And it was awesome. And I feel like no one was letting me do yellow. And so I love yellow and I love chartreuse. And so I kind of just took that and ran. And yes, I did it for myself.
Yeah.
But damn, was it not amazing? And the feedback and the wows and the response. And dare I say, a few people have copied me since then.
Good.
I see you out there.
They say that's flattery, right?
Sure. I see you out there in the ether copying me. But, you're building over time. And I think by not adhering to what I would have maybe always done, I kind of leaned into it and said, I'm going to do this. And I did it pretty quickly, and I think I'm not saying to wait till the last minute, but just because you like shabby chic or baby blue, don't just say, oh, I'm having a blue. I don't think people say I'm having a blue wedding anymore.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a long time.
No, but that was a thing. I'm having a pink wedding. Remember, pink and Kelly green was very popular 12 years ago or whatever. I think people are really, at least with planners, taking the opportunity to push it and tell a story and be in the moment. And I think also with the uptick of destination weddings, and I mean destination, not just Mexico or Italy. I mean, people live in New York, but they're doing Charlottesville.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot there.
A lot in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Or, they live in DC, but they want to do Charleston.
Right.
That's
another
place,
from
right?
this area. Yeah.
Leaning into the space, the venue, but then on the flip side, completely punching it up and doing something completely different.
Yeah.
Is really unexpected in that venue.
Yeah.
We've done a lot in Mexico, and I think it's really fun to do the whole lean into the coconuts and the Mexican vibe and the palm trees and the things.
Right.
But to also flip it completely around and make it very romantic and blushes and blacks and whatever at the beach.
Interesting.
Really gives it a new spice.
Yeah,
and I think it's nice to, maybe if you are looking for a planner, you fall in love with somebody, but they don't know that venue. I love that. I actually think it makes people think differently about the space. In fact, when we do a site visit somewhere, and the site rep says, well, we typically do the ceremonies here. And then we most recently always do I'm like, no, we're going to switch that around.
I could have guessed that with you.
Right?
Yeah.
I want it to be a different view. And I think by encouraging uniqueness and creativity in all of this,
yes,
we spawn on a more unique experience for the guests.
Yeah. I love that, Laura. What about, you've been doing this 15 years, I believe you had said?
Yeah, gulp.
What's the hard part of this for you? I mean, if you could kind of let yourself be vulnerable, and where's the struggle or the angst, the artist side of you? What's the hard part now?
I take a deep breath when I say this. I think time management, in the sense that I'm such an overachiever, and I would say most people that are planners or designers.
I think all of us in this industry.
All of us, right? You were the kid that was talking in class all the time. We are all probably had pretty good grades, but like you probably could have been better if you paid more attention and you weren't socializing. I give a lot of myself and I love the connection with the client, but I also have found I really have to make time for myself. And I think, there were years, 10, 12 years, we were doing 60 weddings a year.
Oh my God.
What? Like how, there's not even 60 weekends. We were churning and burning them out and taking people on and, this is cool.
I
And
think
that's
that's
cool.
typical in the early years.
It is. But do I look back and think, wow, I also had 2 little children and
I got you.
kind of missed their birthday. Or I've done a wedding on Thanksgiving weekend. Hard no. I did a wedding on my birthday one year. Love the client, obsessed with the client, still friends with the client. Do I regret doing that on my birthday? I think we all start putting the client before ourselves. I think when you can find the balance, there's always going to be more weddings. There's always going to be others, but you only get these one chances to be with your family, to do these things.
You gotta
yourself.
it's interesting. The longer I'm in this business, I have more strict boundaries.
Yeah.
Like ask my business partner who's incredible and we have a great relationship and he's highly successful. And I don't, at this, he'll work nights and it's cool. Weekends. Okay. He loves that. I have real strict boundaries. Now, of course, if something's critical,
of course
I will, but I end my day at a certain time, and over the weekends, now that I'm no longer performing myself,
right.
Again, I'm available if there's an issue with an act during an event, but otherwise, that time is precious to me.
It's really precious. And I think what goes along with that is then what is your time worth for what you're going to charge?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, with experience and time and sure, publications and recognition and whatever, you can raise your prices and say, I deserve it or whatever. But I do think that there's also a great way to kind of look back and say, what do I need to make this year?
Yeah. And
did I reach
and
that?
that's the way to do it too.
Right, look backwards.
Yeah, exactly. I do the same thing. What do I need to earn in order to live the lifestyle that I want and all of that? And I'm going to feel good about myself and the time and the effort and all the decades, that's worth something.
Yes, absolutely. It's worth something. And so, it took a long time to get here, but there were definitely years where I felt like I was working like a dog and I'm like looking at my paycheck at the end of the year and I'm like, wow.
Right.
Meh.
Didn't reflect it enough.
Didn't reflect it. Did I work my butt off and did we get recognition for things? Sure. But let's be real. Like other than the fact of I enjoy my job and I love being creative, I am doing this as a job. I do want to get paid. And so I think looking backwards and saying, I only need to do 4 events at a time. That to me is luxury. That I can forecast out and think a little bit more analytically, almost as a director of sales and not just like this hustle, book. That again, takes a long time to get there. But once you understand the mathematics behind that, plus your time management equals a successful and fruitful life because we are giving up weekends and to produce other people's lives.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point. Laurie, just a couple more questions. I want to ask you, I want to move over to social media because you've got an incredibly strong presence. You've got right now, over 40,000 Instagram followers. You put out over 4,500 posts. And I don't think that even includes the stories that you do. How do you look at, what's your strategy for social media? How do you look at it? How have you gotten there? It's so strong.
I'm smirking. You people listening can't see me smirking. I actually manage all of our social media myself.
You do? Okay.
I do. Like a crazy person. I actually thoroughly enjoy social media. I think that's the first line of defense.
Oh God, I need to get there.
I think a lot of people loathe it. It feels like a job. I actually love it.
Mm-hmm.
We were also very fortunate that Instagram popped into the world when we already had a company. So that's certainly helpful. And learning and growing organically just by literally, we started Instagram when Instagram started. It wasn't like, oh, I guess I'll start an Instagram now. We already had it. I'm also very fortunate that my job produces beautiful freaking photos.
Right.
So we have a lot of content to show.
Mm-hmm.
I find that social media, particularly Instagram, I don't really use Twitter and X. It's a battlefield.
It's still so weird to call it X.
I know, I don't like it. It's a battlefield out there. I like Threads.
Okay.
Threads is the cutie mini Twitter that is connected to your Instagram.
Yeah.
And Facebook is just not our mindset, but you can hook your Instagram to Facebook. So like it's kind of easy. I think it's a great way to get to know people. I think if you're very authentic with Instagram, and we are, I'm very real on there. Many people, in fact, I book clients just because of our Instagram and not because of my beautiful photos, but because I was drinking wine in my closet one night and told a silly story.
Right. And so they're getting to know you.
They love it.
Yeah.
I literally had a mom of the bride who I still talk to this day. Her daughter's not even on Instagram, just the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, when I knew that you were our planner? When you were drinking wine in your closet and you were being so silly and fun on stories. It's on stories. It's not like it's living there forever. Yeah. But wow, I was kind of blown away.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, curated pictures and thinking about your grid and whatever is fine. But I think when you take away and shed a little bit of the formalities there, it can really work for you. It shouldn't be your only marketing ploy necessarily, but when used properly, and I mean, show yourself, turn the camera around, be more authentic. Show me where you're going today. What are you buying at the store? It's all part of what these clients are buying into as a person. You are hiring a person.
Well, it ties back to what you were saying in the beginning about how we really also want to connect with them. They need to connect with us. So I love that story that one particular client loved that story about you in the closet.
And
with
I was
the wine.
shocked.
Right.
I was like, I was almost embarrassed. Like, oh my God, you saw that? She was like, that's why we contacted you.
That's great.
I'm like, wow, okay. And so for me, using social media as fun and yes, showing what we did this past weekend or showing what's happening and connecting with people we admire across the country that you normally wouldn't have. Some of my really great industry friends are people I've never met. In person and wonderful planners and really interesting people that are their pillar of their state or their city or their market. And it's such a great way to reach people and get to know others and also ask for advice. And I always respond to our DMs. I answer people's questions on there freely. If it starts to get a little, wow, okay, you really should be hiring me for that.
Yeah,
I will defer to, hey, you should send in an inquiry form. But for the most part, what's 2 seconds out of my day to make someone else feel seen?
Yeah.
What they might feel is, wow, this really quote unquote important luxury planner actually answered my question.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, even in my situation with the podcast, I respond to every DM.
Yeah.
I think it's critical. Before we go, what about the courses that you offer for bridal couples and to mentor planners? What do you do that they can be aware of?
Yeah. So, with the level of experience that we have, and I think there's a really nice way to ensure that people coming into our industry feel welcomed, but also feel educated. And there are lots of planners at all different echelons here that have courses. And I think that's so important because there's not really, we don't go to med school for this.
Right. Yeah.
There's no degree necessarily that prepares you. And so providing an open forum and a space for people to learn and get better is always so important. So we do offer mentoring for new planners, or even we've done that for photographers on an hourly basis to use at their, will. We have many people that are all over the country that do that. And then also there's another market of couples who cannot afford a planner. They literally cannot afford a planner.
So do it yourself.
Which is completely fine. Most of the country cannot afford a planner.
Right. Good point.
And so we put together courses that are by topic that people can go to our website. You can buy by topic. You can learn more or do all of it. There's many people that are really great at just they're organized, they have the time, they really want to do it themselves. And sure, we always recommend that you have some sort of day of coordinator or partial planner at some point for you and somewhere. But it doesn't mean you just have to scroll Pinterest and Google, how do I find the right band?
Yeah.
Or how do I get a contract from a hotel for rooms? So we tried to kind of bridge that gap for people and what do I say? Like archive our knowledge in a way.
That's great.
And I think it's helpful. I wish there was more solid information. I find that some articles on certain publications don't always adhere to what a planner would tell you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And we know that there's different markets all over the country. It might be very normal that a wedding in a Western state might be $28,000.
Yeah.
You can't have McDonald's in DC for that. So we want to just give structure and a little guidance of who, what, when, where, why, how, and what to look for if you are really, truly doing this on your own.
And you also mentor planners.
Yeah. So we mentor planners as well. And all over the country.
Okay.
Maine, Illinois, Texas. I mean, all over the place and help them with the experiences that we've had.
Right.
And, they're looking at stuff. And I just did a really lovely mentoring meeting this past week. The planner sent me all of the things that she sends out. And I pointed out a few key things.
Oh, that's great.
And just said, I'm etiquette-wise, that's actually not how you set that place setting. And she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. I'm like, I noticed that. And if I notice that, then the mother of the bride's going to notice that and might not take you as seriously. So I think it's just important that we all breed good juju and that we are trickling down the lessons learned over time. Just breeds more confidence into our industry.
Well, God, Laura, this has been wonderful. I mean, I've known you for so many years, and yet this one conversation is blowing me away. It's wonderful. So thanks for doing this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been so fun.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Laura Ritchie. Be sure to check out her website, which is gritandgraceinc.com. That's gritandgraceinc.com. You can follow her on all the social media platforms at Grit and Grace Inc. And be sure to check out the show notes with event pics that our guests provided at our website of theweddingbiz.com. And if you can think of 3 good friends who you feel would enjoy this interview, please forward it to them. It's great for new people to find out about the Wedding Biz podcast. And next week's guest is going to be a dynamic conversation with planner designer Jamesa Alexander. And finally, subscribe to The Wedding Biz so you know when new episodes are dropping. And follow us particularly on Instagram at The Wedding Biz. And we'll catch you next week.